We are not born to suffer in the hands of others. We are born to live with reason, calm, and self-respect. Stoic philosophy teaches us one simple truth: protect your mind, because it is the only thing truly yours. Sometimes wisdom is not about enduring more, it is about knowing when to step away. Here are 6 clear signs it is time to cut all contact. Peace is more valuable than attachment. Many people stay connected to others not because the connection is healthy, but because it is familiar. They fear silence more than suffering. They fear being alone more than being mistreated. Stoic thought reminds us that comfort found in habit is not the same as peace found in reason. Attachment can feel warm, but it can also blind the mind. When attachment becomes stronger than clarity, the soul pays the price. A Stoic understands that peace is an inner state, not something given by another person. It is built through self-control, clear judgment, and acceptance of what is within one's power. Attachment, on the other hand, often ties peace to the behavior of others. When their words or actions control your mood, you no longer govern yourself. This is a quiet loss of freedom. To depend on another for emotional balance is to hand over the keys to your inner life. Many attachments are rooted in fear. Fear of change, fear of loss, fear of starting again. These fears convince the mind to endure what should be released. Stoicism teaches that fear comes from false beliefs, not from reality itself. Losing a connection is not the same as losing your worth. Letting go of a harmful bond does not make life empty. It makes space for stillness, and stillness is where peace lives. Attachment often demands compromise of values. You stay silent when you should speak. You accept behavior that troubles your conscience. You explain away disrespect to keep the bond alive. A Stoic does not trade virtue for closeness. Peace cannot exist where integrity is slowly eroded. Each time you ignore what feels wrong, the mind becomes divided. Inner conflict grows, and peace fades. There is also attachment to memories, not to the present. People cling to what someone used to be, not who they are now. They hold on to past kindness as proof that future harm should be tolerated. Stoic wisdom reminds us to see things as they are, not as we wish them to be. Living in the past is another way of abandoning peace. Reality must be faced honestly, even when it is uncomfortable. Attachment can create dependence. The more you rely on someone for validation, meaning, or direction, the weaker your inner foundation becomes. Stoicism teaches self-sufficiency of character. This does not mean isolation, but independence of mind. Peace grows when you no longer need constant reassurance from others to feel whole. When attachment turns into dependence, peace becomes fragile. Many believe that cutting attachment is cruel or cold. Stoicism does not teach cruelty, it teaches clarity. Letting go is not an act against another person, but an act for your own stability. Peace does not require explanation or permission. You do not owe access to those who disturb your inner order. Choosing peace is choosing alignment with reason. Attachment often confuses endurance with strength. Enduring pain is not always noble. Sometimes it is simply avoidance of action. A Stoic chooses effort where effort is useful and withdrawal where effort is wasted. Peace is preserved by knowing the difference. When a bond consistently brings unrest, stepping away is not weakness but judgment. Peace allows the mind to think clearly. Without peace, even simple decisions feel heavy. Emotions become reactive. Words are spoken in haste. A Stoic values peace because it supports wisdom. Attachment that steals peace also steals good judgment. In protecting peace, you protect the ability to live according to reason. When peace is prioritized, relationships become choices, not chains. You remain because it is good, not because you are afraid. You engage freely without inner tension. Stoicism does not reject connection, but it rejects attachment that enslaves the mind. Peace stands above attachment because peace sustains the soul. While attachment often demands the soul as payment, boundaries are a form of self-respect. Without them, the mind becomes exposed to the will of others. Stoic philosophy teaches that dignity begins with knowing where you end and where others begin. A boundary is not a wall built from anger, but a line drawn by reason. It defines what you accept and what you refuse, not to control others, but to govern yourself. Many people hesitate to set boundaries because they fear conflict or rejection. They believe that being kind means being available at all times. Stoicism teaches that kindness without judgment becomes weakness. When you allow others to cross your limits repeatedly, you train them to ignore your values. Over time, this damages self-respect, because the mind learns to tolerate what it should not. A Stoic understands that boundaries protect inner order. The world is full of demands, opinions, and pressures that seek entry into the mind. Without clear limits, these forces disturb calm and clarity. By setting boundaries, you decide which influences are allowed to affect your thoughts and emotions. This choice preserves peace and strengthens character. Boundaries also reveal how others truly see you. When a limit is stated calmly and clearly, respectful people adjust. Those who react with anger, guilt, or manipulation expose their intentions. Stoicism teaches us to observe behavior, not words. Resistance to your boundaries often signals a lack of respect, not a misunderstanding. This awareness allows you to act with clarity rather than emotion. Self-respect is not loud. It does not argue or explain endlessly. A boundary does not need defense once it is set. Stoic discipline teaches firmness without hostility. When you hold your limits without resentment, you demonstrate control over yourself. This quiet strength commands more respect than any demand ever could. Many boundaries are internal before they are external. They begin with what you allow in your thoughts. You choose not to dwell on insults, not to replay disrespect, not to absorb blame that is not yours. Stoicism places great importance on this inner boundary. No one can harm your character without your permission. By guarding your thoughts, you guard your dignity. Some believe boundaries push people away. In truth, they attract healthier connections. When your limits are clear, relationships become honest. There is less confusion, less resentment, and less emotional debt. A Stoic does not seek approval at the cost of self-respect. Peace grows when relationships are built on mutual understanding rather than silent sacrifice. Boundaries also require consistency. A limit that changes under pressure loses meaning. Stoicism teaches endurance of principle. When you uphold your boundaries even when it is uncomfortable, you strengthen your sense of self. Each time you honor your limits, you reinforce trust in your own judgment. This trust becomes the foundation of confidence. There is no guilt in choosing what is right for your well-being. Guilt often comes from confusing responsibility for others with responsibility for yourself. Stoicism makes this distinction clear. You are responsible for your actions, not for managing the emotions of others. A boundary may disappoint someone, but disappointment is not harm. Sacrificing self-respect to avoid discomfort leads to inner conflict. Boundaries also allow emotional space. When limits are respected, interactions become calmer and more meaningful. You engage by choice, not obligation. This freedom aligns with Stoic principles of voluntary action guided by reason. True connection cannot exist where resentment grows unnoticed. Respecting your own boundaries teaches others how to treat you. It sets a standard without force. The Stoic does not beg for respect or react with anger when it is denied. He simply removes access. In doing so, he preserves his inner order and affirms his worth through action, not words. Constant chaos is a warning sign. A Stoic learns to read the signals of life without emotion clouding judgment. Chaos that appears once may be chance, but chaos that repeats is information. When every interaction brings confusion, conflict, or unrest, the mind must ask why. Disorder that follows a person consistently is not bad luck alone, but a pattern that deserves attention. Stoicism teaches that the mind thrives in order. Clarity allows reason to function, and reason is the guide of a good life. Chaos disrupts this process. It pulls attention outward, stirs emotion, and weakens judgment. When a relationship becomes a steady source of disorder, it steals time and focus that could be used for growth. The cost is not always visible, but it is always real. Some mistake chaos for passion or intensity. They believe strong emotions mean strong connection. Stoic thought warns against this confusion. Emotional storms exhaust the mind and blur truth. Peaceful interaction does not mean lack of depth, it means stability. Where chaos dominates, stability cannot exist, and without stability, there is no trust. A Stoic observes cause and effect. If chaos follows after speaking to someone, being near them, or involving them in decisions, the cause becomes clear. This is not about blame but understanding. Blame creates anger. Understanding creates choice. Stoicism values choice guided by reason. When you see the cause of disturbance, you gain the power to remove it. Constant chaos often comes from lack of self-control. A person who cannot manage their emotions spreads unrest wherever they go. Their anger becomes your tension. Their indecision becomes your burden. Stoic philosophy teaches that each person is responsible for their own inner state. When someone refuses this responsibility, others suffer the consequences unless they step away. Chaos also feeds on reaction. The more you engage emotionally, the stronger it grows. Stoicism teaches restraint. Not every issue deserves attention. Not every conflict needs response. When chaos persists despite calm responses, it signals incompatibility, not misunderstanding. Remaining in such conditions is not patience but neglect of self. There is also chaos created through inconsistency. Words do not match actions. Promises are made and broken. Plans change without reason. This unpredictability keeps the mind in a constant state of alert. Stoics value reliability because it allows peace. Unstable behavior erodes trust and creates anxiety, even when no harm is intended. Some endure chaos because they hope it will change. Hope without evidence is not wisdom. Stoicism teaches acceptance of reality as it is, not as imagined. If chaos has been present for a long time, it has likely become part of the pattern. Expecting calm from disorder is a refusal to see clearly. A Stoic does not seek control over others. He seeks control over his own responses and environment. Removing chaos is part of this discipline. This does not require anger or confrontation. Often, distance is enough. Silence restores order where words have failed. Living in constant chaos dulls the senses. What once felt wrong begins to feel normal. This is dangerous. When disorder becomes familiar, the mind lowers its standards. Stoicism guards against this decline. It teaches vigilance over what influences the soul. Calm is not a luxury, but a requirement for virtue. Chaos pulls the mind away from the present moment. It creates worry about what might happen next. Stoicism anchors attention in what can be controlled now. A chaotic environment weakens this focus. Stepping away restores attention and strength. The Stoic understands that life itself contains enough uncertainty. Adding unnecessary chaos through avoidable connections is a choice, not fate. When disorder repeatedly enters through the same door, wisdom suggests closing it. Peace is preserved not by enduring everything, but by removing what repeatedly disturbs the mind. Energy should be protected, not drained. Stoic philosophy teaches that human strength is limited and must be used with care. Time and energy are not endless resources. Every interaction, thought, and reaction costs something. When energy is wasted on what gives nothing in return, the mind grows tired and judgment weakens. A Stoic treats energy as something valuable, not to be given without reason. Many people lose energy not through hard work, but through emotional exhaustion. Constant arguments, repeated explanations, and unresolved tensions slowly wear the mind down. Stoicism teaches that peace of mind is essential for right action. When energy is constantly drained, even simple tasks feel heavy, and discipline becomes harder to maintain. Protecting energy is not selfish, but necessary for living well. A Stoic observes where energy flows. If a person consistently leaves you feeling tired, frustrated, or empty, this is not coincidence. It is a sign of imbalance. Healthy connections restore energy through mutual respect and calm exchange. Draining connections take more than they give. Stoic wisdom urges awareness, not endurance without thought. Energy is often lost through unnecessary emotional reactions. Anger, guilt, and anxiety consume strength without producing results. Stoicism teaches control of response. You cannot control others, but you can control how much energy you give to their actions. When someone repeatedly provokes emotional reactions, limiting contact becomes an act of discipline, not avoidance. There is also energy lost in trying to change others. Offering advice that is ignored, explaining values that are dismissed, or hoping effort will lead to understanding drains the mind. Stoicism teaches acceptance of what is beyond control. People change only when they choose to. Spending energy on what cannot be changed is a misuse of strength. A Stoic values simplicity. Complicated relationships require constant attention, emotional labor, and adjustment. This constant effort leaves little energy for personal growth. When life becomes centered around managing another person's moods or problems, inner balance is lost. Protecting energy means choosing environments that support clarity, not confusion. Energy is closely tied to focus. When energy is drained, focus scatters. Discipline weakens. The Stoic path requires attention to daily practice, reflection, and improvement. Draining influences pull the mind away from these priorities. Removing them restores the ability to act with intention. Some believe giving endlessly is virtuous. Stoicism disagrees. Virtue lies in acting according to reason, not in self-neglect. Giving without limits leads to resentment and burnout. True generosity comes from strength, not depletion. A Stoic gives freely but knows when to stop. Energy protection also means setting internal limits. You choose not to engage in every debate. You choose not to respond to every message. You choose silence when words would cost more than they are worth. This restraint preserves strength and maintains dignity. When energy is protected, emotional balance improves. Decisions become clearer, patience returns. Stoicism values this stability because it allows reason to lead. A drained mind is easily led by impulse. A rested mind remains steady. Energy is needed to endure life's unavoidable challenges. Illness, loss, and uncertainty require inner strength. Wasting energy on avoidable stress leaves less for what truly matters. A Stoic prepares for hardship by conserving strength in times of peace. Protecting energy may disappoint others. Stoicism accepts this without guilt. You are not responsible for meeting every expectation placed upon you. You are responsible for maintaining your character. Energy spent wisely supports virtue, while energy drained carelessly weakens it. The Stoic does not seek isolation but balance. Connections are chosen, not clung to. Energy flows where there is respect, calm, and shared effort. Where there is constant demand without return, withdrawal becomes a rational choice. By guarding energy, the Stoic preserves freedom of mind. He acts from choice, not exhaustion. He responds with clarity, not fatigue. Energy is not meant to be sacrificed to chaos, but directed toward growth, stability, and reason. Virtue matters more than comfort. Stoic philosophy teaches that a good life is not measured by ease, pleasure, or approval, but by character. Comfort is temporary and often deceptive. It softens the will and dulls awareness. Virtue, on the other hand, gives strength that remains steady regardless of circumstances. A Stoic chooses what is right over what feels easy. Comfort often asks for compromise. It whispers that silence is safer than honesty, that acceptance is better than resistance, that peace can be bought by ignoring truth. Stoicism rejects this trade. When comfort requires abandoning principles, the cost is inner conflict. The mind cannot rest when it knows it has betrayed itself. Virtue demands effort. It requires discipline, restraint, and courage. These qualities are not always pleasant, but they create inner stability. Stoicism teaches that hardship faced with integrity strengthens the soul. Comfort avoids challenge, while virtue meets it directly. Growth does not come from ease, but from choosing right action when it is difficult. Many remain in harmful situations because they are comfortable. Familiar pain feels safer than unknown change. Stoic wisdom warns against this illusion. Comfort that depends on endurance of wrong is not peace, but stagnation. Choosing virtue may disrupt routine, but it restores alignment between action and values. Virtue also requires clarity. It asks the mind to see situations honestly, without excuses. Comfort prefers illusion. It justifies behavior to avoid discomfort. Stoicism values truth because truth guides action. When comfort becomes the goal, truth is often ignored, and character slowly weakens. A Stoic understands that external conditions are unstable. Comfort can vanish at any moment. Wealth, approval, and security are not guaranteed. Virtue remains even when everything else is lost. This is why Stoicism places it above all externals. A person who holds virtue is never truly deprived. Choosing virtue over comfort often means standing alone. Others may not understand or agree. Stoicism prepares the mind for this. Approval from others is not a measure of right action. Acting according to reason is enough. The Stoic finds confidence in integrity, not in agreement. Comfort seeks avoidance of pain. Virtue accepts pain when it is the price of honesty. This does not mean seeking suffering, but not fleeing it when it accompanies what is right. Stoicism teaches that pain itself is not evil. Acting against one's values is the greater harm. In relationships, comfort may encourage tolerance of disrespect to maintain harmony. Virtue refuses this compromise. Respect for oneself is not negotiable. A Stoic values dignity more than ease. Temporary discomfort is preferable to lasting self-contempt. Comfort also feeds dependence. When life is arranged only to avoid discomfort, fear governs decisions. Stoicism seeks freedom from fear through strength of character. Virtue makes the mind resilient. It allows calm action even when conditions are unpleasant. Virtue provides direction. Without it, choices are made based on convenience. With it, choices are guided by principle. Stoicism teaches that a clear moral compass simplifies life. Decisions may be hard, but they are no longer confusing. Comfort encourages delay. Virtue demands action. Speaking truth, setting boundaries, and leaving harmful situations often feel uncomfortable. Stoicism teaches that delay weakens resolve. Acting in accordance with virtue brings relief that comfort cannot offer. A Stoic does not reject comfort entirely, but he never places it above character. Comfort is welcome when it aligns with virtue, but discarded when it conflicts. This balance preserves inner peace without sacrificing integrity. Virtue strengthens the will. Each time a Stoic chooses what is right over what is easy, confidence grows. This confidence is quiet but unshakable. It does not depend on circumstances or approval. Life inevitably brings discomfort. Stoicism teaches preparation through virtue rather than escape through comfort. When the mind is trained in discipline and honesty, hardship loses its power to overwhelm. Virtue becomes a refuge that cannot be taken away. Responsibility reveals character. Stoic philosophy teaches that a person is defined not by what happens to them, but by how they respond. External events are often beyond control, but response always belongs to the individual. Taking responsibility for one's actions, thoughts, and choices is the foundation of a stable character. Avoiding responsibility weakens the mind and creates disorder within. A Stoic understands the difference between what is within control and what is not. This distinction is central. When a person blames others, fate, or circumstances for their behavior, they abandon their power. Responsibility restores that power. It allows the individual to act with intention rather than reaction. Those who refuse responsibility often live in conflict. They repeat the same mistakes while expecting different outcomes. Stoicism teaches self-examination. Reflection reveals errors not to shame but to correct. Without responsibility, there is no learning. Without learning, there is no growth. Responsibility requires honesty. It demands that one look inward instead of outward when problems arise. This is uncomfortable but necessary. Comfort lies in blaming others. Strength lies in self-accountability. A Stoic chooses strength, knowing that truth, even when painful, brings clarity. In relationships, responsibility builds trust. When someone admits fault and corrects behavior, stability grows. When responsibility is avoided, trust erodes. Stoicism values reliability because it allows calm cooperation. A person who never takes responsibility becomes unpredictable, and unpredictability breeds anxiety. Many confuse responsibility with guilt. Stoicism separates the two. Guilt looks backward and paralyzes. Responsibility looks forward and corrects. The Stoic acknowledges mistakes without self-pity. He learns, adjusts, and moves on. This balanced approach preserves dignity while encouraging improvement. A lack of responsibility often hides behind excuses. Circumstances are exaggerated. Intentions are used as defense. Stoicism dismisses excuses because outcomes matter more than explanations. What matters is not what was meant, but what was done. Accepting this truth strengthens character. Responsibility also extends to emotional control. While emotions arise naturally, how they are expressed is a choice. Stoicism teaches restraint. Anger, resentment, and bitterness are signs of unexamined reactions. A responsible mind does not surrender to impulse. It pauses, reflects, and chooses a measured response. Those who avoid responsibility often expect others to carry the burden. They seek rescue, validation, or constant understanding. This creates imbalance. Stoicism teaches self-reliance. While help may be accepted, dependence is discouraged. A person who governs himself does not demand others fix his inner state. Responsibility also reveals humility. Admitting error requires strength, not weakness. The Stoic does not protect ego at the expense of truth. Ego creates denial. Responsibility creates progress. Through humility, character becomes flexible and resilient. In contrast, persistent irresponsibility signals stagnation. When someone refuses to reflect, refuses to change, and refuses to acknowledge harm, their character remains fixed. Stoicism teaches acceptance of reality. Such individuals cannot be reasoned with until they accept ownership of their actions. Responsibility clarifies boundaries. You recognize what belongs to you and what does not. You stop absorbing blame that is not yours, and you stop avoiding blame that is. This clarity brings peace. Confusion arises when responsibility is misplaced. A Stoic does not demand perfection from himself or others. He demands honesty and effort. Responsibility is not about never failing, but about responding wisely when failure occurs. This approach encourages consistency rather than fear. Character is built through repeated choices. Each time responsibility is taken, discipline strengthens. Each time it is avoided, weakness grows. Stoicism emphasizes daily practice of accountability as a path to inner order. Responsibility also allows forgiveness. When someone acknowledges harm sincerely, resolution becomes possible. When responsibility is denied, resentment remains. The Stoic observes this without bitterness, understanding that denial reflects the other person's state, not his own. In choosing responsibility, the Stoic chooses freedom. He no longer waits for circumstances to change or others to act differently. He acts according to reason, accepting consequences with calm and clarity. Responsibility becomes the mirror that shows character as it truly is. Not everyone deserves access to you. Stoic philosophy teaches that attention, time, and presence are valuable resources. They should not be offered without thought. Allowing someone access to your life means allowing them influence over your thoughts, emotions, and direction. A Stoic chooses influence carefully, knowing that what enters the mind shapes character. Many people confuse openness with wisdom. They believe that allowing everyone close is a sign of strength or kindness. Stoicism teaches discernment. Strength lies in choosing who is allowed near, not in leaving the door unguarded. Kindness does not require exposure to harm. Access is not about status or closeness. It is about impact. Someone may speak with you often yet add nothing but confusion or tension. Another may be distant yet respectful and supportive. Stoic judgment focuses on effects, not appearances. If access consistently disturbs inner calm, it must be reconsidered. A Stoic understands that influence works quietly. Words, attitudes, and behavior shape thinking over time. Prolonged exposure to negativity, dishonesty, or instability weakens discipline. Protecting access is a form of mental hygiene. Just as the body avoids poison, the mind avoids harmful influence. Not everyone who wants access deserves it. Desire does not equal entitlement. Stoicism teaches that you are not obligated to meet every expectation placed upon you. Obligation exists only where reason agrees. Giving access out of guilt leads to resentment, not virtue. Some people test limits through small violations. They interrupt peace, dismiss values, or demand attention without respect. When these signs appear, a Stoic observes without anger. Repeated behavior reveals intention. Access is adjusted based on behavior, not promises. Access can also be limited without hostility. Stoicism values calm withdrawal over confrontation when possible. Silence, distance, and reduced engagement often communicate more clearly than arguments. A Stoic does not explain endlessly. He acts according to judgment. Allowing the wrong people access often comes from fear of loneliness. Stoic philosophy addresses this fear directly. Solitude is not a threat to a stable mind. A Stoic finds companionship within reason and self-respect. Being alone is preferable to being influenced by what erodes character. Access should be mutual. If effort flows in one direction only, imbalance grows. Stoicism teaches fairness. A relationship where one gives constantly and receives little drains strength. Limiting access restores balance and self-respect. Some believe cutting access is cruel. Stoicism sees it as necessary when virtue is at risk. You are not required to keep those near who disrupt your inner order. Distance can be an act of wisdom, not rejection. Access also includes emotional access. Sharing thoughts, fears, and plans gives others power to influence decisions. A Stoic chooses carefully whom to trust. Trust is built through consistency, not words. Those who misuse information lose access. When access is protected, clarity increases. Decisions become less reactive. Emotional stability improves. Stoicism values this stability because it allows reason to guide action. Too many voices create confusion. Fewer, wiser influences create focus. A Stoic does not seek to control others by denying access. He simply chooses where to place himself. This choice is internal and calm. There is no need for blame or justification. Limiting access is also an act of responsibility. You are accountable for the state of your mind. Allowing harmful influence is a choice. Stoicism teaches ownership of such choices. When access is granted wisely, relationships deepen. Respect grows because boundaries are clear. Those who remain understand the value of presence and do not abuse it. Not everyone is meant to walk beside you. Some are lessons, not companions. Stoicism teaches acceptance of this truth. Releasing access allows both parties to move forward without conflict. Protecting access preserves inner peace. It aligns daily life with values. It allows the Stoic to act with intention rather than reaction. The mind becomes quieter, stronger, and more focused when only worthy influences are allowed. Close walking away can be an act of wisdom. Stoic philosophy teaches that strength is not always shown through endurance. Sometimes it is shown through restraint and departure. Knowing when to stay and when to leave requires clear judgment. A Stoic does not cling to situations out of habit, fear, or pride. He chooses action based on reason. Many believe that leaving means failure. Stoicism rejects this belief. Success is not measured by how long something is endured, but by how well one acts according to virtue. Remaining in a harmful situation does not prove strength. It often proves confusion. Walking away restores clarity when persistence only deepens harm. A Stoic understands the difference between what can be improved and what cannot. Effort is valuable only where change is possible. When repeated attempts bring no progress, continuing becomes wasteful. Wisdom lies in recognizing limits. Walking away preserves energy and focus for what can be shaped by reason. Walking away also protects inner peace. Constant tension erodes calm and clouds judgment. Stoicism places peace of mind at the center of a good life. When an environment repeatedly disrupts this peace, distance becomes a rational response. Peace is not escape, but alignment with what sustains clarity. There is often fear attached to leaving. Fear of uncertainty, fear of judgment, fear of loss. Stoicism teaches that fear comes from attachment to outcomes beyond control. Walking away accepts uncertainty without resistance. It replaces fear with self-trust. A Stoic does not walk away in anger. Anger seeks victory. Wisdom seeks balance. Calm withdrawal reflects control over impulse. It shows that decisions are guided by thought, not emotion. This calmness preserves dignity. Walking away is also an act of self-respect. It acknowledges that time and attention are valuable. Remaining where values are ignored sends a message of self-neglect. Stoicism teaches that self-respect is maintained through action, not words. Some situations test patience, not wisdom. Stoicism teaches patience when growth is possible. It teaches departure when patience becomes tolerance of harm. Endurance has value only when it serves virtue. When it undermines it, endurance becomes weakness. Walking away allows reflection. Distance clarifies what closeness obscured. The mind sees patterns more clearly when no longer immersed in them. Stoicism values perspective. Without distance, judgment is often distorted by emotion. Others may misunderstand the choice to leave. They may accuse or judge. Stoicism teaches indifference to opinions that are not grounded in reason. External judgment does not define inner worth. Acting according to wisdom is sufficient. Walking away also teaches others through example. It demonstrates that access is conditional on respect and reason. While change cannot be forced, example leaves a clear message. Stoicism values action over persuasion. There is no need for closure in every departure. Seeking final explanations often prolongs attachment. Stoicism teaches acceptance without demand. Closure comes from clarity, not conversation. Walking away requires courage. It confronts uncertainty directly. Stoicism trains the mind for this courage by focusing on what is within control. You cannot control outcomes, but you can control your choices. A Stoic does not regret walking away from what harms character. Regret comes from acting against reason. When departure aligns with values, peace follows. Walking away is not the end of growth, but its continuation. It opens space for healthier paths. Stoicism teaches that life is shaped by choices made with awareness. Remaining in harmful conditions out of loyalty to the past sacrifices the present. Stoicism values the present moment as the only place action occurs. Walking away returns focus to what can be lived well now. Wisdom does not announce itself loudly. Often it appears as a quiet decision to step back, to release, to choose silence over struggle. Walking away, when guided by reason, becomes a disciplined act of care for the mind and character.